Yeah, so hello everyone, welcome to today's video. This is Shanmugharaj. We are continuing our journey on OPM implementation steps. Today we're going to talk about defining the role of OPM maturity models. Yesterday, different levels of OPM maturity. Today we'll talk about how do we define the role of OPM maturity model and how do we go about it, doing an assessment and everything, right? So OPM maturity model, it's a tool for measuring an organization adoption and consistent implementation. So if at all you want to measure or adoption and consistent implementation, right? So you need to have maturity model, you need to have different levels of maturity. Generally, OPM models leverage two foundational concepts. One is we should talk about recommended practices specific to and in support of portfolio and program and project initiatives. Okay. So you need to have recommended practices, best practices to follow. Depends on the complexity, depends on the compliance and everything. In some models, it may even include your enablers, like competency management, and functional practices like system engineering, everything. So it's about level of detailness. What level of detailness? For a bigger organization, you may need to include your enablers also part of your OPM models. The second foundational concept in OPM model is the prescribed pathway to achieve that capability or the process maturity, right? So that's what we discussed about the different levels of it. That could be the one of the prescribed pathways, right? So it will this pathway will talk about institutionalization, measurement, tailoring, control, and performance monitoring. So when you define our OPM maturity model, you need to consider these two aspects, foundational concepts. And this is the picture that talks about how the OPM maturity model interacts in a project organization. So it is interacting with OPM governance framework, right? So OPM framework, and it is interacting with the projects also, right? So it is interacting with OPM policy and framework, OPM processes, project plans, right? So this talks about your OPM methodology, right? So it is interacting with OPM framework as well as the projects as well. An OPM maturity model is the capability excellence model, right, for evaluating the organization project management processes and supporting infrastructure, right? So when you want to define your OPM maturity model, your maturity model should be capable of understanding the capability excellence model, right? So different levels of excellence will be there, depends on the organization project management processes. So you need to have that capability excellence model. An organization policies, which is one of the input to the OPM framework, right? So that plays a key role in defining the organization need for OPM processes that we have seen in the previous slide picture as well. And the organization policy sets the culture and guiding principles for the organization. So OPM policy should express the senior management's commitment to the implementation and improvements of its OPM governance system. Right? So it says that OPM policy should be aligned to your strategy. Right? So to aid in consistent compliance with the framework policies, OPM processes are established for portfolio program and project management practitioners and stakeholders. So you need to have OPM maturity model, to should be aiding in consistent compliance with the framework policies. And another role of maturity model is to you need to consider the project complexity. It's very very important. See, for example, for small and frequently projects, the list of typical risk encountered with the recommended actions may be sufficient. For large complex problem, risk management workshop with SME and sophisticated tools, tracking system may be required. So it depends. You need to consider that project complexity when you build your OPM maturity model, right? So OPM assessment are conducted to determine the gaps in the current state, right? So generally, whenever you start with an OPM transformation assignment, you have to start with OPM assignment assessment. So your OPM maturity model, should be, OPM assessment should be guiding the OPM maturity model as well, right? So OPM assessment will be an input to the maturity model, right? So next is an OPM maturity model should provide a guidance for establishing measurements, and analyzing the OPM processes for both compliance and effectiveness, right? So you need to have a measurement system, right? OPM maturity model should provide a guidance to measurement system, to ensure that for analyzing the processes in terms of both compliance and effective. And OPM maturity model should provide guidance or means of measure the OPM maturity of an organization. So your model should help you to measure the maturity of an organization, right? Your measurement, no, it should guide the right maturity. Your measurement system of maturity model will not guide to a wrong maturity. Right? That's important. And finally, that OPM assessment is, it's a compliance audit for OPM capabilities against a recommended standard actually, right? An evaluation of effectiveness of OPM capability in achieving the performance outcome. So this we have seen in the previous slide itself. So your OPM maturity model, it will take an input from OPM assessment, right? So it should give us some guidance that how an OPM assessment should help to reach to a right current state in terms of its maturity. From the model, you can pick it up, right? So it helps in both in terms of compliance as well as to understand the effectiveness to achieving the performance outcome as well, right? So I hope with that we have come to a conclusion of today's video. Hope you got a fair idea about how do you go about defining a role of your OPM maturity model, how the OPM maturity model looked like, what are the guidances it give in terms of organization policies, aligning with the organization policies, aligning with the OPM processes, aligning with the measurement system, aligning with the governance systems, all those things. It's very very you need to define rightly the role of that maturity model because it plays a very crucial role in assessing your maturity, and it helps you to navigate to the next level as well. So you need to plan that accordingly. Okay, so I hope you got a fair idea about how to go about defining a role of OPM maturity model. So tomorrow we'll talk about other two areas in the steps of OPM implementation. So let me know if you have any suggestions for me in terms of improvement, right? So happy to implement it. Hope you like the video. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.